Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Matt Richardson back on the Matt Rich podcast. So I'm with my friend today, Joey Faoro. How you doing, buddy?
North of mediocre,
North of
south of
mediocre?
south of okay.
Oh, that sounds
not
pretty
bad.
decent.
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here.
All right, well, tell me how has everything been? Last time you seen me, I
Year.
was having a diaper party
Yeah.
for
You
my
weren't officially a dad
expecting
yet.
baby. No, I was expecting my daughter here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then now it's been a year, and
I
I'm
just
having
walked in
another
the
baby.
door and I realized that your girl is pregnant
There's
again.
another one. No,
I didn't know that.
Still the same baby. She's just overcooked. She's
That's wild, man.
Yeah. Happened very quickly.
I would
Very
assume
quick to
one would be like extremely challenging.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
first babies are definitely crazy. Just the first experience of it is just.
Have you talked about how you hadn't held a baby until your
Oh yeah,
own?
no one knows that yet.
That might be like the first time it's ever. I don't know how many.
Yeah, I managed to dodge babies my whole life until my daughter.
Until your own.
Yeah, I didn't want to hold. But babies kind of freak me out because
It's
they're
scary.
It's
They're
so
fragile,
scary.
man. You
They're
can't-
so tiny and fragile.
Mm-hmm.
It's the concept of like holding someone else's fragile piece of glass.
Yeah.
Like,
Now holding your own, are you a little more secure with that because
now I am. Now
it's
I'm
your
pro.
own property,
I can
right?
toss
you
her
can't.
up with one arm
toss her
like
like
a
a
pro,
football.
dude.
I have a question about that. Are you always like overanalyzing everything you say and do around her? Because are you afraid of imprinting the wrong thing and you got to watch what you say and how you say and how you talk to her and how, given that she's still.
For
So-
sure. For sure. I mean, I would say to that,
Is that always in the back of your mind? Like, oh, I shouldn't talk that way. I shouldn't,
that's a better way to
use
put it. It's
yeah.
always in the back of your mind, but sometimes it's not in the front of your mind. So, like, there's a lot of times you catch yourself in the act or you don't catch yourself in the act. And I feel like that's the whole part of growing as a parent, too, is learning when you're fucking up and realizing not to get to that
Do you know
point.
when you fuck up?
You start to definitely know more. You start
Okay.
to definitely become more aware of those things because you start to think about everything. Like your actions are
Yeah.
directly going to imprint this child, and then
Yeah.
you're going to see that in them, or it could have a negative or positive. So it just really makes you analyze and think about the butterfly effect in such a crazy
That's
way.
a way that I think, because I would be afraid that I wouldn't know I fucked up until months, years down the road.
Exactly.
I'd be
You
like,
would never know. You could
you
never
know.
know. That's why you just read a bunch of books. I mean, I've listened to tons of parenting books, and just learning from others, talking like to other parents, and just learning.
Any of her friends are parents or
Couple are starting to become parents now. Yeah, I think she
Brock,
got one or
probably.
two.
You've talked with Brock a
yeah.
lot, yeah.
Yeah, but everyone says the same shit. Like you just learn as you go. No one's a perfect parent. No one's ever ready to be a parent, and like you just learn from experience.
It's funny because there's probably, infinite amount of books on parenting, but there's no like set guidelines. Like this, you have to do this. You have to do it this way. It's kind of like, here's a general rule of like, when you should do things, what at what age and what time frame. But it's like each
Yeah,
each
like-
parent is going to have its own different circumstances that probably lead them to parent a different way. There's like no, like everything's set in stone. Like
For sure. And everything is so contradicting itself too. Like you go and look up something like should my baby have
Right.
Tylenol?
Right.
It depends on the way you
That's what I
type
mean.
your Google in, because one can say hell no, it'll give your baby autism. The other one will say like
yeah,
like
but this
no, it's all
dosage
good.
and 200 milligrams at age 2 is okay.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by like nothing is like totally set in stone. It's
No,
like
and even stuff like there's a ton, the more you look into a lot of this stuff with modern day parenting, it makes you question a lot of like, because human beings were around for hundreds of thousands of years before we were walking around with iPhones
Yeah.
and modern technology, right? So
parenting has to have changed.
oh, it's evolved in so many weird ways too. Like not necessarily, like for instance, once the mothers were expected to be like what I guess would be considered
Yeah.
equal in society, right?
Yeah.
They were
In the
expected
70s
to
and-
work, or they
yeah.
wanted to work, whatever. Then mothers had to start formula with their children, or
Yeah,
there's
right.
a bunch of things that kind of popped up that like we started taking our kid off breastfeeding, and you
Yeah.
don't know what that necessarily
They haven't
has
been doing
to
it for long enough to see
and that
the
has to do
repercussions.
something, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
That
yeah.
has to be doing something long term. And same thing with like, they say don't what are some of them, like don't necessarily sleep in your kids, like have your kids sleep in the same room as you when they're
Mm-hmm.
young, like, or don't let them cry it out as soon as you hear them cry, like keep them crying for a little bit, let them learn on their own.
Yeah,
But
don't coddle them
yeah,
instantly. And
but when you like look into the other side of that, like, why should I not cry it out? Like, you know, the reason why babies are crying is because they want something and they need something,
yeah.
right? They're not crying just because they're trying to annoy you or
Yeah,
something,
right,
for the
right.
most part, when they're that young.
Yeah.
And if you don't go to them, they're gonna learn that like they can't trust anyone, you know.
That's what I mean about the
which is
imprinting.
why you want to, exactly. So there's so many things that, like, in a weird, I wouldn't say conspiracy way, but like it's almost like it's this modern, the more modern and the more things that are developing with raising a kid, it's like they're trying to split the family apart. They're trying to break the bond between parent and child.
So I
Which is
think about that because, like, I have no experience with children at all. I've the third baby I've ever come to contact with, direct contact.
Yeah.
But when I'm in the grocery store or when I'm driving and I'm at a stoplight, every kid from the age like 2 or 3 to fucking 10, 12, 30, what plus on has an iPad.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in the grocery cart and they have an iPad, or they're in the car and they have an iPad, and it's like I pulled up to one car not too long ago, and the driver had a screen, you know, it was like a Tesla, like a big screen like that, right? So she's fucking around on the screen at the stoplight. The passenger's on the phone. 2 kids in the back are on a tablet or a phone, and they're all just staring at a phone.
Ugh.
And I'm like,
It's not good.
how do I avoid that as a parent?
Yeah.
Because I have shit to do. I can't have them crying in public. I mean, what did my parents do? You know, they distracted me in some way. But if I were a parent now, I would be like, man, I would be so conscious about how much screen time I give them, how to distract, you know, like,
Yeah.
even with
mean, it's
toddlers,
hard.
not even with teenagers, just
Yeah.
with toddlers in general, just to,
I mean, basically from birth, my daughter Everly, she has been just naturally curious about phone screens, just screens in general,
Yeah.
especially phones.
Well,
like
they're-
TVs are interesting, of course, because they're
Yeah.
colorful and they want that just.
And they're bright and they're
but
big
phones,
text and-
even if it's off, dude,
Really?
it's something about this creepy Black Mirror
Black Mirror.
that really like is.
They want to fuck with it. They want to play with it.
Yeah, it's
and,
interesting
like,
to them,
investigate
and
it.
it's just it's all strange, man.
I wonder what that says, because that's that's really, not even our parents had to deal with that, right? So
No.
it's really a thing that the millennials now are
Yeah.
dealing with. Is like, why would they be drawn to that? You know what I mean? Like, what
Because you got a team of master psychologists basically designing how to make this thing the most addicting piece
I understand
of
that
machinery.
with TikTok and like teenagers and stuff like that.
Oh,
Like, it's designed
so dangerous.
But even as a toddler, they're drawn to it, you know, and like that's got to be just a setup for.
It's bad, you
Yeah.
know, especially if you're one of those parents that, you know, no offense to people who do it. I understand how like it buys you time to get your shit done.
Yeah, you got to grocery shop. You
still-
got to cook. You got to you got to take the other kid to soccer practice. You got to help the other one with home. Like,
Yeah.
I totally get it. I don't know how I would avoid that.
Yeah,
if
I mean, I'm
were-
not at the toddler stage yet, so I don't know
Right.
how crazy it's going to get when you got to clean the, you know, dishes and you got your
Yeah.
babies destroying the house and you want to keep them distracted. I mean, I can understand that, but what kind of sacrifice are you doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a hard thing to kind of, and these are all these tough
They would keep me up
decision. Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole new type of stress in your life and the questions that you have to contemplate, like so many different things that come around. Like,
I think I'm stressed now, right? I don't know how I could manage. Like, that would add a whole other
yeah.
level of like
I hear the most important thing is to let go. Like, to not, like, understand that, like,
you're gonna make mistakes.
you're gonna make, yep,
You know,
exactly.
you're not perfect. You
Yeah.
know, there's still plenty of time to, you know, develop them
And the more
in a
you,
healthy way, and you
exactly,
know,
and the more you sit and dwell on negative stuff and all the what ifs and whatnots and all that stuff, the more time you're taking away from being really present in the moment and missing like the in between moments of the kids' lives. Like you could be stressing so much and not really necessarily there, like always looking past their heads, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of anxiety in general.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're worrying about something in the future, and that distracts you from now.
Yeah.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you rate yourself as a dad so far?
Oh God.
On a 1 to 10.
I'm not a 1.
I assumed that.
I mean, there's definitely improvements I can make. But the time I'm with her,
Yeah.
she's just all smiles,
Yeah.
all loves.
Like,
there's not really a negative time.
I would think that obviously you do everything you can, right?
Yeah.
And anything you can do, and nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an interesting where you would put yourself like, I'm
Yeah,
an 8 because I'm here often and I work hard and I do these things, but I'm not, I'm flawed here or I'm better here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would hate to have to like put a number on it.
I know.
I'm like a perpetual 5, just always
Straight down
coasting
the middle,
in the middle.
yeah.
Like but I'm always trying to learn and do better, and I really try to. I'm my own worst critic in a way too.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely beat myself up.
I know you are. That's why I figured I'd ask.
Yeah,
to see where
I
you
definitely
where
try
you
to
would
beat
put
myself
yourself.
up and
Yeah.
improve, but
Yeah.
we all got our flaws for sure.
And what about, you guys are having another one.
Yep.
So I would assume the relationship between you and your girl going
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah, going well. We're trying to.
So a lot of the times the kids, they make or break it. It's like they have one and it brings them closer together,
Yeah.
or they have one and it tears them apart.
For sure. I mean,
has it brought you closer together?
It has in different ways, for sure. It tests your relationship just like moving in with someone, but it definitely tests it like in an insane way. Like you both have to be patient with each other, and you both have to be. You have to realize when you're needing. You have to realize when you have to cooperate and put your shit aside for the time, and I think that's something that all parents try to improve on, because no one can be perfect. Everyone has their flaws and has things they need to work on, or maybe be a little bit more productive, or be a little bit less productive, or something like that. And
Right.
I would say, just
It's brought you guys closer together.
for sure, and
Yeah.
and finding just ways to like, who takes turns holding her, or who takes turns putting her down, who takes turns feeding her, all those different things. Sometimes there's a lot of cooperation there.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be
in.
hard to not. Hey, I put her down. I woke her up this morning. I fed her. I need you to do it, and it's like you're treating the child as it's like just a task or a chore.
Yeah.
Like you're vacuuming, and not. That would be hard to not let your ego get in the way and be like, no, I did it. It's like it's way beyond that. It's way beyond me and my needs.
Like imagine this. Imagine if you had a baby. Like imagine if you were, say, a single dad.
Yeah.
You somehow found yourself in that
And
situation.
I don't kill myself somehow.
And you don't kill yourself.
And I'm alive. Okay.
You're a single dad, right?
I'm trying to envision that.
If you're a single dad and you want to try to be a somewhat decent dad, not have your child hurt or whatever, you basically, your time becomes their time.
Yeah.
So like everything that they do, you have to, like, you can't, think about all your things that you go and do in your life, right? You can't do none of that unless you have a babysitter. You have to have a contingency plan. It's like a dog 24/7 that can't be put down. You can't like put her down unless you want to be a bad parent and put them down and let them cry for 2 hours or 3 hours like Jeffrey Dahmer's parents probably did. Like you have to tend to your baby basically all the time unless they're napping or sleeping at night. And if your baby don't sleep at night, you're fucked.
How has that affected your...
She sleeps 12 hours, so we don't even understand what a baby, like a bad baby sleeps like.
Great.
Everyone tells us we're so lucky. So, but, babies, you're on their fucking clock, dude. And it's... that part alone tests the very boundaries of your patience.
I'm kind of a selfish guy. I can be selfish. I tend to put my needs and my wants before...
Yeah, I could say I am too.
And
I could admit that.
I would imagine that I would hope that I wouldn't be. I would know I would become less selfish with a kid, right? I would think
you do, but it doesn't happen overnight, dude.
No.
You can have a baby and you're still the same person the next day, but you want like the change. Your heart is different, your want is different, but you still got to do all the work. Like you're not just gonna get struck by lightning and be like, oh, well, I'm a patient man now. Like you have to all that stuff
and not build a type of like a negative attitude, like, well, now I never get to do what I want.
Exactly.
And now I don't get to go to the gym when I want to. And now I don't get to watch the shows that I want to watch. And you have to not take that out on the kid.
No,
You know?
not at all. And that's why you find yourself like wanting to learn how to be a better version of yourself, because you got to nip that shit in the butt if you want to like be a good person or a good parent. Like you got to like improve on yourself.
Yeah.
And also learn those lessons of how to improve those things, so you can teach them that. Like, hey, this is how I overcame my fucking anger issues, or this is how I overcame, this is how I beat it. This is how I deal with it. Like,
that would
if you
be...
don't have ways, and you like your kid's like comes to you when he's a teenager, hey Dad, I'm really depressed. What do I do? Like, sorry son, I'm depressed too.
Yeah, right.
Let's go sit on the couch.
That would be
depressed together.
really rewarding once you get to that stage.
Oh,
if
yeah.
they are going to school and they're having issues with, they're getting bullied at school, and you went through something similar, so now you're able to take what you've learned through your 30 years of life and now apply that to someone who knows nothing, who's only been here for 7 years. Like, that would be rewarding. I would find fulfillment out of doing that.
It's so fulfilling, man. The first year, she's only a year old, but just seeing how crazy it is. Like, this is something I never understood. Like, before, as I said, I never held a baby before this.
Crazy.
Babies weren't even on my radar, dude. Like, I would see someone holding a baby in the store, and I would see, like, their hands would just be empty. I wouldn't even see babies. Like, I wouldn't notice babies. Right? Now I'm going in the store, and every baby I see, I'm like, that's a cute baby. That baby looks like an alien. Wow. Baby's ugly as hell. But I'm like, I'm not that judgmental, but I'm saying, like, I notice cute families now. I notice, like, babies. I know, like, it's just, like, on my radar now, right? So
when you get a Jeep Wrangler, you see other Jeep Wranglers.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of the baby, that's her yelling in the background. But yeah, the craziest thing, man, is seeing, like, seeing a person. So, like, when you have an animal, like, I've had pets my whole life, grew up with pets. They're always pets. They're just walking around being a pet. They're gonna die a pet. They're always gonna be that thing, right? The relationship
doesn't evolve into
it's nothing
more.
It's that now a kid, when they're young, you have to hold them all the time. You got to lay them down. They just lay there because they can't roll over.
They hold their head up. You get a fucking
they can't even hold their own head up. They're just like limp, nothing, right? So they feel
useless.
Useless
bodies of meat.
So they're
they can't even have a conversation with it.
Nothing.
It's like, this thing's fucking
boring.
boring.
But imagine that thing eventually.
And what if it were ugly too?
Yeah.
It's boring and ugly.
It's scary looking.
I'm
not even sure it's mine.
Right. It's black for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, that's a whole other thing. So, but now it's evolving.
Yeah. So imagine that feeling. Like, it kind of feels like not a pet, but it feels like the same taking care of a pet, right? When they're young.
Right.
But then imagine that feeling, like, you keep thinking, like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to have a podcast conversation with her one day. Like, I'm going to be able to
teach you how to drive.
You're going to be a possible, like, doctor one day.
Show
like,
you how to ride a bike. Get it in this.
It gives you this crazy epiphany. And you start to see everybody as like a little infant baby that used to be like this little tiny baby. And it's just
very interesting.
So it gives you a completely different perspective on life. And just like when you become a parent, it wakes up like this part inside of you that was laying dormant.
You think you had that the whole time?
Yeah, it was like laying dormant, and it only comes out when you are a parent.
You think you were meant to have that brought out?
I think it's a meant to have. Every human should experience
procreate, right? I mean, you're supposed to, spread your seed a little bit and carry the bloodline. Like, you're designed to do that. Every living creature does that. Yeah. So I feel, because I don't have any of those desires or any of those wants or any experience, that I'm fucked up.
No.
I'm a lemon.
I didn't have those feelings. I mean, when as a kid, I always wanted a little mini me running around and stuff. Right. And I think everyone kind of would think that's dope. Like a little mini Joey.
Yeah, especially if he's cool and like talks like me.
You work out with him.
Yeah, right.
Like,
that would be tight.
That stage sounds dope, right?
That would be sick.
Yeah, so, but the whole process, like, exactly. And to get to that point is worth it, too. Like, and once you really find someone that you fall in love with.
Real love.
There's just something, real love. There's something inside of you that's like, hey, we need to replicate. This is too good to be true. Like, this is a good link. Something needs to come out of this.
Love, unconditional love. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever experienced unconditional love. I don't know if I've ever even, like, my mom and my dad, my brother, but like, not with a parent or a family member. Like, I don't think I've had that in any relationship.
I mean, I know that I have it with my parents, but I never.
Not.
Yeah.
Different.
But the kid, oh my God.
Right. I think the kid to parent is different than the parent to kid.
Yeah,
I know my mom fucking will do anything for me. Mm-hmm. She truly loves me for who I am, and she would do anything for me.
Same.
And I would like to think I would do that for her, but there's a different sort of balance between that relationship that we have. I think hers is way more intense.
Yeah,
and way
it's
more
that child bond.
Yeah.
And a mother's bond to her child
yeah.
is, I think, supernatural.
Yeah.
I have grown to see some, and to believe that there is some
they're superheroes.
Yeah.
You dump a load
Yeah.
in a broad, all right? And I'm kidding. They dump a load in a broad, right? And they create a person.
Another human life.
And in
they
9 months.
Cook it for 9 months.
Bake that thing for 9, and then it comes out. That's crazy.
It's so wild.
That's a superpower. Mm-hmm. If that didn't exist and you wrote that in a comic book, you'd be like, damn.
Yeah.
That's a great superpower.
Literally.
You have sex one time, and then
they
create another. Yeah,
it's like the best type of machine you want, like
Yeah.
a self-replicating machine. It's like,
and it's made of you.
Yeah.
That's fucking.
but I think the important ingredient to having a child is love, of course.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's cliche as it
Unconditional
sounds.
love.
Yeah, having love towards one another, I think, is just, you know, makes a good baby. Yeah, man, it's a cool experience, and I would recommend.
You recommend it?
Yeah, I would recommend it
To a friend?
To a friend.
All right.
Wait till you're ready. Not
think
ready,
about
but
it.
wait till you find someone you love, and like,
Yeah.
you know, you at least have a place to bring your kids, like a comfortable space and home.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had anything close to that. Anything close to like, man, I have this urge to impregnate you.
Yeah.
Because I want to have something that's half of you.
Yeah.
I want to have that for
That's
life.
what it is.
That's
It's like I need
need-
more of you.
yeah.
You're not enough. I want.
I don't think
more
I've
of you.
ever experienced that, you know? And
Yeah.
I would like to.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would like that's truly a
I think. I mean, you're a great looking dude, so you're not gonna have a problem finding it. But
come on.
just be patient, and I think you will know when you for sure.
When
want one.
as cliche, when you know, you know.
When you know, you know.
Yeah.
But no one will ever be ready. No one's ever been ready. So, but yeah, man.
Good. I'm glad to hear everything.
Babies are cool. Babies are cool.
Babies do rule.
Yeah.
All right.
Love you, Everly. I'll let you listen to this maybe one day when you're older.
And
18.
maybe 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
That's
cut out the short talk.
That's cool. right. And
Yeah,
the part
it's
about-
cool. She'll be able to look back at all
Yeah.
my old podcasts, like,
Yeah.
especially if I die too. I'm like, hey, this is how I used to be. You know, this was your
Well,
dad.
she can now live on. Like
Yeah.
the Black Mirror episode, she can have have
Exactly.
it transcribed and then put into
AI.
into some sort of artificial.
There's enough talk on
intelligence.
the internet of my
Yeah,
voice that it
right.
could definitely do it.
Yeah.
All right, changing segues here.
Okay.
Let's get into some of this crazy shit going on right now. Like, there has been this since 2020 has unfolded. There has been some crazy shit going on, and I'm frankly, kind of weary about the future. And I've never been a person I've been so almost blindly optimistic about the future. Like, if you caught me before 2020, I'm pretty sure on my old podcast, I was all gung-ho about the singularity, all gung-ho about, just technology saving humanity and stuff. And, dude, the shit that I've learned over the course of 2020 and what my eyes have opened up to, what the public has learned about all these dirty, dark conspiracies in so many different avenues, all unfolding, right? I mean, what's really happening right now is the New World Order. They've talked about it for so many years in so many different communities of conspiracies, right? But they're calling it the Great Reset. And when you look at this stuff, it all points to the fact that it was all on purpose. Everything from don't mention any certain words, right? Like you can't mention.
You would get banned off YouTube. You'd get a YouTube strike if you mentioned any sort of V word or where it came from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even if we say right now the C word, right? What the actual what the organism is called, right?
It gets flagged.
It gets flagged, so it'll automatically warn people like, hey, this podcast may have some misinformation.
You'll
on
watch a YouTube video, and if it has anything in there, it puts like a Wikipedia link to certain conspiracy theories, or it's like attaches to it, like whatever, 9/11 or Watergate or any of these big like controversial things.
I mean, we might have already be flagged for saying the word conspiracy theory, honestly.
Really?
But
I think that's a mass a way of limiting free speech, because what's the goal of that?
The goal, so they say the potion, let's call the V word, the shot, the potion, okay? So the potion, and then we have the other word we'll call the sickness, okay? So the sickness, the potion was not created, speculatively, the potion wasn't created for the sickness, but the sickness was created for the potion.
Okay.
Meaning that they want you to keep taking potions because there's something gonna happen. Have you heard the podcast episode with Bert Weinstein on Joe Rogan? You need to
Brett
listen
Weinstein.
to Brett Weinstein.
Yeah, Brett Weinstein, because he doesn't want to be confused for that fucking rapist, pedophile molester, not
Epstein.
Epstein. Yeah, Epstein.
Epstein, yeah.
Wait, what was the movie caster? No, he was Weinstein.
Yeah, Weinstein.
And then Brett is Weinstein.
Weinstein. Okay, Weinstein. Okay, yeah,
because
sure.
What's
He did
that,
say
that
that.
ugly ogre looking motherfucker? What's his name?
Harvey.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
So two different people.
Yeah, I mean, he's warning.
Yeah.
He warns on that podcast. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Did you listen to it?
I probably not the whole thing,
Oh,
but I
man.
did. Joe had him on because he got his YouTube channel taken down. I believe.
Probably for saying similar stuff.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
said something about he's a biologist, a really genius biologist.
Evergreen College.
Yeah.
I believe is the
He
college.
said something about basically implicating that, these are these potions are. He called them he used the term they're not clinically called the V word. Like you can't.
No, they're not. Yeah,
They're not
because
actually
it's a
like a DNA cell changer or something,
yeah,
right? Changes your cells.
fuck. Now I'm forgetting the
I
name
know.
of it. It normally when you get a dose or a shot, it has a part of that virus in it. Like you get a flu shot, so
like
it has
rattlesnake
influenza.
venom, like
Right.
getting immunity to rattlesnake venom. You take bits
Your
of
body
it.
learns to take it and then
Yeah.
adapt it and then but yeah, that doesn't have it. It's like an RO, I don't know. RNMA.
Yeah, something like that. But it's
Yeah. It's not a true V word.
no,
right.
It kind of like manipulates your
Yeah,
cells.
right.
And he's warning that he's saying that this is going to cause tons of irreversible damage in people
Yeah, I think
if it's
in
not already.
20 years you're gonna get commercials. Hey, were you dosed with the J
with
and
the
J
potion?
version of this? Well, I'm here to let you know that you can get financial recompensation because they're
problem
a class
is that-
action lawsuit and now
The problem is that all those companies got
are owned by.
they got that bill passed that gets them out of the lawsuits.
Oh, really?
So anything can happen to you.
I take it you didn't get the jab. I'm gonna take a hard stance
That's
and
scary,
say you didn't
man.
get the jab. Okay,
Everything
but
about-
you didn't get it because you think that you weren't afraid of the, or you thought it would grow
I didn't
a
get
third
it.
arm, or
Yeah,
like
I didn't get it
anywhere
because
in
I didn't
between.
trust it. I mean,
Yeah.
it
You didn't
came-
think it would work, or you think it would have other effects, unwanted effects, and side effects
Well, the problem was
because it was rushed. And
I think if I would have trusted in the disease
science.
or
Oh,
trusted in the it's not a disease, but if I had trusted in the sickness
Mm-hmm.
and believed it up until the point of the potions.
Have you ever had the C word?
Yeah,
You ever had
many
it?
times.
Okay, how did you feel?
First time sucked, but other
Okay.
times were pretty fine.
Okay.
My body's, I think, pretty absorbed it now.
Yeah.
I got the rattlesnake venom in me.
Okay.
Good. But I didn't get it because I didn't trust
Yeah.
the entire pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, if you put me in a room and locked the doors and said you can't come out until you create the potion, and we're going to give you all the tools to create the potion, I would die. I would never. It's not a Rubik's cube, right? I would never be able to concrete that. I'm sure it takes unimaginable knowledge and scientific understandings and data and just you to create something like that. I can't even fathom it. So
Yeah.
talking about it, it's like, what the fuck do I know, right? I don't know anything.
Yeah.
But given that now you see a lot of it come out that it was like, at first it was like 99% effective, and then now it's like dropped down to like 80% the efficacy rate, and then now it's like 70, and then I think I saw as low as like 40%.
Yeah, jeez.
And I'm like,
What's the point?
Yeah, like what's the point then? Especially if I've had it too, and I didn't get it because of all the cases of myocarditis that were coming out. So because I have heart complications, I'm like, well, it wasn't for any political or distrust or anything, because I'm sure those concerns too, but that was mainly because I didn't want to risk. I was an at-risk category at the time.
Okay.
So that was
not even worth it.
Yeah, then and I had it, and I had gotten it too. So I'm like, well, then definitely not.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's immunity.
Yeah.
But they don't talk about that stuff.
No, and then who knows how long it lasts. I just had it in January.
Yeah.
The beginning of January, I had it for the second time, and I don't know. I was pretty fucked up.
Really?
Yeah, I was pretty sick, man.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, do I want to get it again? No, but like between my
when was the last time you heard anyone getting the flu? Or like just getting the flu?
I thought
like, how do you know it wasn't the flu? That's what I'm saying, because the doctor told you it wasn't. Isn't that the crazy?
The test did come back.
Yeah,
positive.
the test made from China said that
That's
you're
the
sick.
funny thing, is that you get these rapid tests at home, and
I don't trust any of it anymore. It's all, I've completely lost faith in any screen telling me this is how things are.
But
or
then
any person
how do you
telling
know?
me.
How do you know what's what? How do you know what's accurate and what isn't accurate? If you can find a different thread, a thread that is positive, a thread that is negative, and 100 of each, how do you distinguish what's correct or misinformation? Because I don't know enough. I don't know enough about potions to even understand how they...
And that's why I'm not going to trust anyone to do it, right? So
you don't want to put in your body anything that you don't know enough about, or that you don't understand.
Yes, because I don't trust anybody. And there's like 1,000 people that went into making that thing. Like, I don't trust...
Where do you draw the line? Because what about
my own
supplements? Like, do you not want to take certain protein supplements, let's say, because you don't know where the factory is and where it was made?
Yes, that's a good example. So it has to be third-party tested for all your supplements that you take, because the whole supplement industry doesn't even have to third-party test.
Maybe that third-party test is now... So where
that's
do you draw
what we learn
the line?
about the certain organizations.
And now what do you do? What do you do? You just don't take anything? You don't drink anything?
You know what you really do in an ideal world is you eat what you know what you don't supplement. You don't take shit that someone else has given you. Like, you just you live simple.
Yeah.
That's really what the secret to that, and it's so hard to do it nowadays because
I think about that with meat production too. Like, I consume a lot of eggs and a lot of chicken.
How do you get your meat? Because if you're getting beef off the shelves now, it's cloned beef.
So
it's not even real beef. And if you're getting chicken off the shelves, a lot of the times it's chicken with additives.
It's red meat
with
and
glue.
Hormones. And there's a brand called Smart Chicken.
Okay.
Target sells it. Strax sells it. That from what I've understood, that if chicken, it says organic on it, that actually means something. It doesn't always mean something with fruit and veg and other types of produce, but if meat, when it comes to a grass-fed, grass-finished beef, obviously you have to trust that the USDA is being accurate, and
we hope.
But
again,
I just try to, like, okay, if there's a better brand, I'm gonna buy that. And what makes a brand better? I don't know, more articles telling me that it's good.
Yeah. Right. But at the end of the day, you really can't trust anything. You can hope to have trust in some of these companies that, you can do all your research and abide by, doing your due diligence. But at the end of the day,
Do you think any part of this mistrust and misinformation that's being spread about is because now everyone has a voice? Everyone can have a Twitter account and a cell phone, and anyone can create a thread on the internet. So now you have all these opinions coming from all these different, who, maybe 40 years ago, it's like, well, there was one guy in the news and he's telling me what to do. And now not everybody should have a voice. Not everybody's opinion should be,
I think so,
able to be. So don't you think that because there's so much of that going on, that
I think
it causes confusion in anybody, because you have 10 million people that are saying one thing and 20 million people saying, and you're like, well, I don't even know if I should be hearing that many opinions. I don't even know if I should be reading this, like, don't you think there's just an overabundance of information, and that leads
I do believe in that. If people are plugged in super into those, arenas or into those echo chambers, there is a lot of opinions coming everywhere. But I think opinions and logic. I think having important debates, like you take someone who, right now, there's a wide community of people who think that Earth is flat and space is not even real. Right? That we live in some bubble firmament, and there's the sea is above us and the sea is below us. Right? Kind of like the Bible talks about.
That.
Right?
I shouldn't hear that because
Yeah.
that's so retarded.
However,
that I don't even.
However, I am anyone who says anything, I'm willing to listen to, and take, because I don't know how to. Some of the stuff on, for instance, flat Earth or space is fake is convincing, right? Because I'm not a scientist who can say like, oh, well, this is why you're wrong, right? However, I fully think that it's important to take those two people on opposite ends and have debates, no matter how crazy the idea is, because facts and
No matter how crazy.
no matter how crazy, and you need to make sure you're using debate tactics like facts and reason and logic.
Yeah.
Because I did a podcast before with a professor who is a philosophy professor, right, and smart man, and there was something that I took from this class that was so blown away by it. I wanted to discuss it more with him, but there's an ancient philosopher who, just based off of using like logic, he was able to, in ancient times, come up with the idea of particles and atoms in the universe.
Right.
Just,
with no microscope.
With no microscope,
Right.
just by thinking about it, because he was meditating and was watching water flowing on a river, and he was thinking like the way that the water was flowing so fluently and effortlessly in a flow. He was saying that thoughts must work the same way, right? Our thoughts must, since our thoughts flow in that type of manner and freely like that our thoughts must move in the same way. And then he was thinking, he somehow made the tie that since our thoughts move so fast and flowing, it must be tiny rounded objects kind of flowing through. And he was able to contemplate what physical reality was based off of just using logic, right? And these things were cornerstones in ancient times. Like, they were so important. Like, it created man out of monkey. That's what ironically the name of my title was for that podcast. But it turned us into...
Is he a special guy? You know what I mean? Because not everybody can probably come to that conclusion based off just their own thoughts.
No, but he learned logic from his predecessors,
right,
and was using all these tools that philosophy gave him and philosophized this crazy theory. That's what modern philosophers do when they contemplate futurism, when they think about where technology is headed and where they think about the singularity. Those are such complex, comprehensive thoughts to have and exercise to do.
Yeah.
You really got to sit and meditate and think about certain things, and use logic as one of them. So if you could have this crazy opinion about flat Earth, logic, reason, fact. There's a ton of other ones.
Isn't a fact a fact?
It is.
You can't argue fact, right? But now...
A fact is a fact, but to make it a fact is much more difficult. Like, it needs to be tested by a bunch of different parties and a bunch of different ways to make sure you're always getting the same result.
Yeah, I go back to let's say the supplement. I don't know for a fact that there's 20 grams of protein in this protein bar that I consume. I don't know that. I can't taste it and go, oh, this tastes like 20 grams of protein. That's how I don't know. And I'm not sure as fuck not going to bring it to a lab and get it and do my own. So some things you just have to
have faith in it.
Have faith in that point. So where do you draw the line between I have to actually just protest this and fight this on the fact and do more research, or just have faith that they're telling me what, where do you draw the line? Like, you draw the line at the protein bar because that's not really a big deal. If you only get 18 grams in there, then it's still pretty good. It's not bad. It's not enough to ruin it. But all the way up to the vaccine, to the potion, this is not, we're not just talking about nutrients here. We're talking about genetically modifying my DNA. At this point, and the goal, you think, is what's the goal? Why do this? Why do it to people? That seems like an evil thing to do. And is the world evil?
No, I think
evil?
If you really want to get conspiratorial, when you follow some of these tracks, you wonder where all of the you got to ask yourself a lot of these questions. Okay, like the sickness was man-made.
Mm-hmm. We know that
officially say that now. Thank you, CDC.
Do we know that? Again.
We do.
How do we know that? I wasn't there at the facility when they leaked it.
True, because we're basing fact. But
you see where I'm...
But the money was funding a level 4 laboratory in Wuhan, China.
Yeah.
That was basically funding this
right.
process to it's called gain of function research, where they basically have a certain sickness, and they blast it with...
and they see what it does and put it in different environments.
Yeah, they try to make it... They,
of course it leaked. That's like any movie fucking... plot twist. It's like, of course it leaked.
Okay,
what do you mean?
So you start off there, boom.
Right.
We get this crazy thing. First off, for 10, 15 years, a lot of rich people were mentioning about... They literally gave TED Talks about depopulation. Okay, we could say Bill Gates, that crazy psychopath.
Yeah.
Depopulation. He was openly talking about it to a bunch of other people at TED Talk, saying how the world's too populated.
Too many
people. To depopulate. Right?
Some of you guys
slow it
gotta
down,
go.
guys. Slow it down.
Some of you guys gotta go.
Yeah.
As a great Bill Burr bit where he's like, a lot of you guys just you're born and then you take a shit that ends up in a river somewhere and that's it. You don't contribute anything. You guys gotta go. You're just taking up lines in traffic and that's it. You're not contributing anything.
Yeah.
And there's too many people.
But that's also not the case. There's definitely not too many people.
There's a lot of land.
There's a lot of land.
But
it's not a person problem. It's a resource problem, if anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's a resource problem. But technology solves that most things. We can figure out we're smart. We're a smart species. But that's not my problem. Okay, it starts off with this suspiciously, you can say man-made whatever virus, man-made potion or man-made sickness, right? And it coincidentally spreads around the world. All the world falls suit and does these crazy acts of shutting down the economy. Like there's going to be no repercussions for that for the next 10 years, right? Like no one understands. Like then you have all these other things happening at the same time. So you have you ever heard of the World Economic Forum?
I've heard it, but I probably couldn't tell you what it is.
So it's a group of people. You could call them... You might as well call them the fucking Illuminati.
Right.
You know,
I was going to make that comparison.
But they're open about it, so it's not the World Economic Forum is not the Illuminati.
Oh, that's where everybody gets together
and talk about the future of humanity.
Yeah, right.
But they're all billionaires or politicians or world leaders or some
senators,
actors. They're all influencers.
Okay,
they're all important people, right?
Right.
Like they're the people who like not if shit hits the fan that we need to save.
Right.
They're the people who are gonna get saved because they're because they're wealthy. They got the plan for it. They got the money. They got the power. They got the plan. They got everyone recruiting. That's them.
They're not equals. They're
no.
Yeah.
And they released a video a few years ago, the World Economic Forum, saying by 2030, we will own nothing and we will be happy. We will rent everything by house. Everything will be delivered to us by drone. They want us. They openly talk about these ideas, right? That are all communism, underlining, of course, but. The craziest thing is that these people believe in they talk, they're sitting in this room, and there's videos, you can go online and watch these, right? There's videos of this gentleman, one of the administrators, the lead administrator for the World Economic Forum, sitting up there saying that we now have this is basically a quote from him. He says that we now have technology and capable of technology that can create us into gods. He says that...
You would be. If you traveled back in time to the fucking Roman Empire with a cell phone...
I'm thinking, though...
You would be you know what I mean? You would be a god.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that they have more than just cell phones. I'm thinking... Well... He says that they have life extension technology and all these things that he says...
Gene editing and CRISPR and all these other things that...
I mean, they openly... His words are that we are going to... In the future, we're going to be dealing with a giant generation of useless people that need to be dealt with. He's like, and he says that,
and they gotta go.
Yeah, he said his idea was a concoction of video games and drugs. Right.
Well, how many people do you know are either addicted to drugs or even food, and for that matter,
Yeah.
I mean, the line around Chick-fil-A and it's always wrapped.
I don't understand it.
It's not that good.
It's got to be the same people.
It's a decent chicken sandwich.
It's got to be the same people.
But it's like it's always there's never not a line there.
No, they must put like crack in the food.
Well, yeah, they do. There's like weird like yellow number 5 and shit in their breading and stuff like that.
Wow.
Weird. But to most people, that's like an idea of kind of healthier-ish alternative to I don't know McDonald's or say something a little bit lower. So. You get filled with that, right? And then that satiates you for some time. And then you spend a lot of time on your phone. And then you are taking other sort of stimulants or other sorts of prescription medications and things like that. Who do you know that isn't on some form of medication?
Like 1 in 3, 4 people are starting to do it. Like,
Yeah.
it's everybody. I mean, and it sounds like a big old conspiracy, right? But the fact is you can listen to these people talk about it, right? You could hear them say that we are the future. They are building our future. These groups of people, the World Economic Forum is in charge of the future plans of humanity, and it doesn't look good for the underclass. It does not look good for it. They said they have the technology now to basically render a lot of people useless. Right? If they got us,
You think that that's the goal of the social media and the cell phones and the poor diet and the drugs and everything over? It's like just get them to where they're not worth anything and they're contributing nothing and they're useless. But don't those people become hard to deal with then? Or
if my conspiracy mind says that it's behind a lot of things, it's behind the war in Russia. I think the war in Russia is either a distraction or it's a move because who's the one motherfucker who's not on the World Economic Forum, right?
Putin. Why isn't he on there? What about
They have a different
Chinese asshole over there
Yeah.
Wei Zhongxing, whatever his name? He's got to be on there. Kim Jong Un probably isn't on there.
I think Kim Jong or Kim. I don't know. I don't know who's on it, but I know
the leader of the CCP is probably if he's on there. But
pretty sure CCP is involved.
Kim probably can't be on there because
No.
I don't think anybody wants to hear from that dickhead.
No.
But Putin, I would be surprised. He's like one of the most powerful dudes in the world. I'm surprised.
I mean,
he's not on there.
my conspiracy side says he's the one that's putting up a fight. He's the one that doesn't want to conform to this new world. But they talk about the singularity. Like who Ray Kurzweil is, right? Ray Kurzweil.
I've heard of him.
He is a futurist guy who is behind like the Singularity Project.
Yeah.
He does a bunch.
The
of
singularity is man and machine becoming one, right?
No,
Matrix.
so that's just transhumanism. That's just merging with machines. So
Okay.
the singularity is a point in history. This is a philosophy. I guess it's a fact, really, but it's a point in history that if we could reach it, it's the singularity is when it's the event horizon we cannot predict or see past. So it's the point where technology gets so advanced that we can't even comprehend what comes after that. It's like we almost reach a point of like we get so smart we just don't exist anymore.
Like it's a technological reset or blackout.
Something. It's the singularity. It's the point of emergence of like the greatest, and it's like the end of. Not the end, but it's just we don't know what's after it, so it's perceived as the end.
Okay.
Right? It's like where is this all going if we could
Right.
survive another 5,000 years?
Right.
And so, the idea, bro, Ray Kurzweil, he's the guy who's behind the project. He's the guy who's developing AI technology that I think is either creating human consciousness or mimicking it, or you can upload yours. He's behind it, right? And life extension. And he wrote a book, trying to say that it's all going to happen in 2045. That's the big year. He was speculating. Now he's moved it up like 10 more years, and he's saying
this isn't a Mayan 2012.
you get the vibe that it is, but once you create an AI, like have you heard about Chat GPT? Mm-hmm. Do you know the capability of that crazy chatbot?
Where it can it can draw create images in seconds. Like you have Matt Richardson doing karate on a beach in a polar bear with this, and then it'll create it in seconds.
Right?
And then
and they're developing ones that eventually create images and short clips and videos. So eventually you could say like, hey, write me a movie where I'm Tony Stark fighting off aliens on Mars. And
Oh yeah, I have seen the conversation transcribed where it's like.
Yes. So what's crazy is an AI developer put this chatbot online, and there's tons of other ones that are out there. There's ones that can make music and all these different things, right? But put this thing out there, and it's free. Some of it is free. There's premium, I think, packages, but the point of it is it's not necessarily like an altruistic thing the company's doing, and it's not making money. The money is the thing is collecting data off everybody that's talking to it and using it, so it's getting smarter off every single person using it and learning from actual conversations and stuff. So this thing is actually passing licensed medical tests with its own original answers and answering long formatted questions and essay answers on its own, not plagiarized, right?
Okay.
So it's its own original thing. So it's
Right.
they're saying that it's like
I have a question about that, because if the for AI to surpass, for for robots, if you want to call it, to
Yeah.
like surpass people, don't you think at some point, like, how do they not develop any emotions and any feelings? And like, aren't people superior because we have, or is that now looked at as a negative, because we have feelings and emotions? And like, for AI to surpass that, if they were to develop any sort of like feelings, or to become more human like, would mean, but like that would kind of be looked at as a negative, because then you could just fucking call a robot a fag
bitch
and
and start crying.
right.
Yeah.
So wouldn't, you know what I mean? Where do you,
Well,
if you know what I'm trying to say, I'm not wording that correctly.
no,
but
I would assume, it would, some would probably be emotional if that's the case, and some would experience all walks of human emotion if that's, but
'Cause they're learning
but
from
human
people.
emotion, really, because there are people who, like, you got to be a really good type of human to like have like full control over emotion, like a monk.
I'm very emotional.
But like, think
Right,
about a
yeah,
monk, like someone
right.
who doesn't have, like, everything flows off, right?
Yeah.
Like, he spends years trying to master that skill, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming a robot would do it probably quicker and more efficiently,
Right.
and learn how
And
to
that
do
would
the
be a
most efficient,
benefit.
because it probably wouldn't want emotions to counteract its logic and stuff like that,
Right.
right? Just like
'Cause
people don't want
you
that.
can't really, with emotion, the more emotion, the less logic you have, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not able to approach a subject
Exactly.
from a objective.
That's on a personality
viewpoint.
scale trait. Those are
Right.
two against each other, yeah.
Right.
So that being said, right, like, what is even emotions in general? Emotions are just reactions like that are caused
Chemicals.
by outer external things. Like, everything is a cause and reaction, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
we have free will possibly,
Yeah.
but everything is everything is caused from an effect.
Do you believe in free will? Do you feel that you're in charge
Depends.
of your own?
I mean, yeah, but it depends if I want to get spiritual or if I want to get scientific.
Because if you don't have free will, that means that whatever's going to happen to you will happen, regardless of whatever you do. If you get,
No,
if I
that's
leave
more
here,
fate. You're saying that my choices, no matter what I choose, I was going to choose.
yes,
That's not free will.
Right.
So free will, I could, like, I guess, everything was going to happen, but
Right.
you also got, like,
You're
I'm not
not
going to
in
get hit by
control
a
of your
car when I'm
outcome.
30 if a guy misses his work.
yeah,
right?
he's
If
running
he makes
late,
a
and I
choice.
leave here, and then that's fate, or is that my lack of free
So-
will because something is in charge of me that I'm not aware of, right?
Yeah, that's, I'm bouncing around all spirituality right now, to be honest with you.
Have you ever developed or dove into any like Taoism or
Yeah, I've been doing Taoism.
any sort of isms?
I've been doing Taoism, Christianity.
Do you go to church at all?
Yeah, I've been starting to go to church.
And
especially
that's
with a
something
kid.
new?
Yeah, something new. I mean, I used to go to church when I was little, but
Yeah.
I've been just trying to figure out some stuff.
What made you go
spiritually.
back?
The more I learn about history, that's what's made me go back. And I'll tell you why, because it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I have the thing about I think like Christianity in general.
Yeah.
Like it's just, man, that shit never appealed to me. My mom was Catholic, went to Catholic school and all that stuff, and like kids, like, did you go to CCD and stuff?
Yeah, I was basically thrown out of it. Yeah, I had too many questions. It was
You've always been against that though.
I would just always question it and have my questions, which I still do. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily. I don't like to keep a label on anything because I know too much about other religions and other things to where
You can
I am
totally
not
subscribe
gonna.
to-
I'm not gonna subscribe to an organization, especially a religious organization. I'm not gonna like be that.
Yeah.
Like I could be spiritual but not religious, and I truly believe that. Like I can follow the word of Jesus, I could follow all these things, but I don't think that I need to like say, hey, I'm a Christian. No, I think I can say, yeah,
Yeah, with that, hey, I'm a Christian comes these like
a follower of Christ, right? That's
guidelines and put you in a bubble in
Yeah.
a way. And I feel like those mainstream religions have been like totally
Yeah, I
kicked
mean
to
they're
the curb a
mainstream. They've
little bit.
hijacked what was, I think, beautiful before all that. Like, it was a message of how to be the best human being ever,
Yeah.
and to how to if
Treat
we,
people the way you want to be treated, this and that,
and if there is a soul, if we have one, if we go somewhere after
Yeah.
we die, or if we get reincarnated, like, the
Yeah.
best outcome you can do is to be the best altruistic human you can be, and live a life of fulfillment and purpose, and love and passion, and all of them preach that same thing underlining, right? And
Yeah,
that's where modern
right.
religion came
Right.
over and built over the ancient
Yeah.
religions of the old world, saying the same message. And what I think, so this is where I said that, this is why I say that I'm starting to fall back into learning about all of these different things now, because because of learning about history. Graham Hancock, originally with his work about ancient history and about what they've discovered with basically the fact that human beings, I mean, we've now figured out with like jawbone records and stuff like that, that our species of human beings, right? So you could dress us up and look like a modern person, right, in modern clothes that look just like us.
Yeah.
It stretches back 800,000 years, dude. Think about that. Think about how long it takes to go from like ancient Egypt to making an iPhone, or not ancient Egypt. That's a bad example because it was advanced back then. But it takes 5,000 years to create modern history as we know it, to make iPhones.
I would assume
6,000 years.
we've had multiple resets.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Undeniable.
That seems like the most likely outcome is that an ice age, something happens, a fucking volcano erupts, whatever,
exactly.
and then shit starts over and you're a amoeba, and then you grow and you grow and you grow. Because now...
Well, the humans that are reliant on technology and easier world living, first world living.
Yeah.
If shit hits the fan, you can't survive in the jungles. You can't survive in the forest. So the people who are doing that right now, the third world countries surviving
they're
in the
gonna be the
jungles,
ones.
they're gonna be the ones.
They're gonna be chilling.
They're gonna be taking over New York City, being, hello, anyone home?
Yeah, right.
Hello.
Right.
Just like
Knocking
we did
shit
with the
open with
pyramids.
Yeah. I think about that when I ride my bike in the summertime, right? Mm-hmm. It's hot.
Yeah.
I like it when it's hot, when it's like 95 degrees out, right? And I'm got my hoochie daddy shorts on, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I thrive in that environment. I like it, right?
Yeah.
It's therapeutic for me. And I see people driving in their cars, and the windows are up, and they're smoking cigarettes, and they're like, and I'm like, dude, you couldn't,
different world.
You couldn't go 2 miles on this bike. Like, how do you get and then they're eating McDonald's on their lunch break. Like, you're a weaker version. Like, I don't, we're the same, but that's why I'm so, I don't know, that's why I'm so passionate about that stuff, because me and you are technically the same, me and this fucking obese bitch in the car next to me, right, smoking cigarettes, smoking Newports, eating McDonald's. But if shit went down, I can't rely on her.
No.
I can't, and it's I don't know. I think that's like a sad way to live, Mm-hmm. Like people who they work at the cubicle, then they drive in their air-conditioned car, and they go in their air-conditioned room, and then everything's set to the right time. Like, that can't be...
So unnatural.
Yeah.
We haven't been living like that for long.
You've only been doing it for, 100 years, really.
Like 10 generations have been
right.
living a luxury life, right? But the fact, 10 out of 1,000, counting, right? So
right.
to think that, it's just mind-blowing to me that our history stretches back so far back, right? Mm-hmm. We are just dealing with such a small piece of it. 6,000 years compared to 800,000 is like if you had a movie that you were watching.
Yeah.
Our existence that we know of after the last ice age has been around for the last 2 seconds of the credit scene.
Right.
Like the last credit of the 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
We're on 2 seconds left, right? So so that being said,
doesn't it?
Well, hold on. So that being said, all these the ancient civilizations knew something. They had technology that was extremely advanced. They knew a lot of shit. They knew a lot about the stars. They built structures into mountains and tunnels into mountains. They built structures that could survive another cataclysm right now. Like we get hit with a comet, if it doesn't hit the pyramids directly, they're gonna still be there. Yeah. So that thing's surviving. We aren't building that stuff today, right? So they knew shit. They knew shit, a lot of shit, right? That's where all these ancient practices of yoga and breathing meditation and all these that's where religion and spirituality comes from these ancient special cultures. So to think that
stuck around,
right? So don't you? That makes me intrigued right there. I'm like, what the fuck is it?
Do you meditate at all? Do you do any form of meditation?
I do a little bit. I do like car meditation, not sitting down like I should, but
because I'm
so fascinated.
Very interested in that because I would like to have tools to center myself and lower my anxiety, and I'm always thinking. Is your brain ever not like I gotta go
if
here?
I'm not
and then
thinking, I'm having to listen to something.
That's so. My screen time is fucking atrocious, dude. Yeah. It's like 14 hours a day. Okay, it's crazy, and I sleep with it on because I have to fall asleep to YouTube.
Yeah, I cannot. Like the podcast.
I go. My head hits the pillow.
I'm the same way,
and I'm like, man, what the fuck? Like, I gotta do this. Yeah, I can't. How pathetic is that? So I'm hating on this bitch eating McDonald's in her air-conditioned car. I can't fall asleep without fucking a podcast going.
Yeah.
I take it back. I'm no better than her. Yeah. We're equal.
Hey, epiphany.
But, so that makes me weak in a way, and I'm always researching on, cold plunging and heat therapy is very popular now. And like, we live in a world where we're so we have such a life of luxury that we have to actively seek out discomfort.
Yeah, literally. We're so not discomfortable.
Yeah, we're so comfortable that we have to seek discomfort.
Yeah, it's so strange.
You have to fill a tub of ice.
And then guess what? We learned that it's really good for us.
Yeah, oh, gee,
it's like, hey, turns out that doing this really challenging thing is
I go back
great.
to being on my bike. Sometimes I will play music, sometimes I will, but I don't have access to my phone. It's in my back. It's in this bag that is on my back. Mm-hmm. So I can't change the song. I can't change. And sometimes I'll just ride without it. And it's the only time that I'm like doing something physically hard. And it's like I'm just focused on one pedal, and then that's it. I'm only focusing on how hard it is on what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about anything else.
Yeah, that's what I love about working out. You're counting your reps, 1, 2. All you're thinking about is counting.
Even with the very similar, but even with the weightlifting, I have music playing, and if I don't have music playing, there's weights banging in the background. There's people talking. There's people talking to me. I can't replicate this sort of like groove that I get in this flow state outside of that, and I've been trying to look for other forms of that. And it is. I don't want to say it's meditation, but it is therapeutic.
Yeah, I think the answer is you're saying it right now. I think that's what I think. I mean, it's crazy because have you ever heard anybody talk anything bad about meditation?
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't meditate.
No.
Or I had a terrible experience meditating. Or
no.
I've never once heard. All I've heard was, you should meditate. It's the best thing ever. It's so beneficial.
The flotation tank.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most form of meditation. I bought my girlfriend, me and her for Christmas, 2 hour, each an hour thing at the Float 360, which I've never been to that one. I've only been to an Annika in Naperville. But I was like, yeah, you gotta go. I'm like, we'll take a little bit of weed, smoke a little bit, take an edible beforehand. I'm like, you're no longer aware of your surroundings. I'm like, to me, the first time I did it, my thought was, it's probably what it feels like to be in your mom's womb.
Probably.
Like, that's the closest thing to it. I can't find any other. So between that and then the heavy exercise, like, I'm looking for other forms of. Yeah. I don't know if I want to call it meditation, but it's meditative therapy to me. Yeah,
yeah. And I mean, that's a good thing to get addicted to.
I'm trying to find new things to get addicted to. Like, I've had so many things that are unhealthy that I'm like now on the search to find healthy alternatives to it, and not all of them give you the same feedback and the same dopamine and the same serotonin, but like, I don't know, I'm trying to like experiment with new things like that, but I just my ADD is so bad that for meditation I'm like, I just can't sit there. But I think it's a push, like you can't sit still.
I think it's ADD, all that attention, hard to hold your attention onto one thing. I think because I suffer from the same thing. I think it's something that you can fix with meditation. I think meditation is quite the polar opposite of your scatterbrainness, because I have the same thing, and I think the antidote is meditation.
You know what's interesting? If you're in jail or prison and you get in trouble, what do they do to you?
Isolate your ass.
Put you in solitary confinement.
You can't handle it. People can't handle it.
They freak.
Imagine a monk in isolation, bro.
You'd be like, I'm chilling, what are you doing? Dude. What the fuck? You just did me a favor. Yeah. This is where I want to be. Right? I don't want to be with these animals talking and fucking.
Yeah. I can imagine that it wouldn't do a monk anything.
So, in one way, it's a form of torture. It's torturous. People lose their mind.
Yeah.
They don't know what time it is.
It's like
what
illegal
day it
in
is.
some places, I think.
Yeah.
Can't even
So,
put a person alone.
but then on the other hand, it's a mental exercise that if you can kind of, I don't even have to say master, but if you can get good at or do repetitions of, it can become like a useful tool. Like I'm sure if you could handle that, that probably carries over into other, you being able to handle other stressful situations because you're able to control your
For sure.
anxiety
I mean,
and
that's-
focus on just your,
And the better you get at it, I feel like the better things just roll off of you.
Yeah.
And there's a state of like, what I don't know much about all the Taoism and all that stuff, but there's a state of what you can reach is basically like enlightenment.
yeah.
in a sense.
What is
So Duncan Trussell described it pretty well. Like he says that there are these certain people, like these Dalai Lamas and these Ramdas or whatever they're called. But they're these, I guess you can call them like gurus or spiritual
Leaders
enlightened people.
yeah.
Enlightened, and there's a few of them, but there could be tons of them around the world, right? And supposedly what happens to these people, what Duncan talks about happening, and I think what they allude to is once you reach this state of enlightenment, like where it's like pure consciousness, I think they describe it as, So Duncan says that the way he interprets it is that once you reach this level of consciousness, this Holy Spirit, in a sense, or this ancient deity or whatever this
a
is,
deity? Yeah, that's good.
speaks through you, or you're not speaks through you literally, but you're able to understand what that deity reached, that enlightenment, and you're able to bring that back to people and describe it and teach people it. And it's what makes you one of these Zen leaders or these Zen masters. It's
Right.
Once you get to that point, you almost, it just flows out of, like, you need to tell people about it. Like and supposedly it's happened with people and all these spiritual people in ancient history. Like a lot of these, and isn't that fascinating to you? Like to think,
And that's with no substance, with no sort
substance,
of psychedelic.
nothing.
yeah.
They say that you could reach states of consciousness far, and I've heard this specifically from
DMT
Zen
levels
masters.
of.
Far greater than DMT. They say that you can achieve astral projection throughout the universe, and you can leave your body and go and explore anywhere you want. Think about, like, because I could say I could do that right now, and you would never believe. You could
Right, I
never
wouldn't
not
know,
know because
Right.
I
can't look through your
exactly
eyes and I
right. But
wouldn't know.
imagine someone who's spent their entire lives since they were young, little kids, like sitting down and meditating for fucking like 16 hours a day, and just like, or taking a 5-year, 30-year vow of silence where you don't even utter a word, right? And you just spend every waking moment in your head.
How long could you go?
And then
without
these,
that?
what?
How long could you go
long. I'm a talker. But imagine these people come back after what they've learned and reach this enlightened state after all of this practice that no one really does that. Like,
Does that make it real then? Because if
he's teaching me some crazy shit, and then if I practice it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, wait, there is a benefit to my life on this stuff that you're telling me that you've mastered. I think that's facts.
Because I think about that with experiences with like psychedelics, right? Like it augments your reality a bit, but it's always there.
Yeah.
In a way, like it's not always obtainable, but if you ingest a certain substance, it becomes visibly obtainable.
Correct.
But in a way, it's always there. You're not seeing things that aren't there. That like old school idea of like you take LSD or mushrooms, like "What, dragons are flying.
Yeah.
Whoa,
A giraffe walked in the room. Yeah.
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 It's not that.
It's not that.
It's like, oh, you look at clouds a new way, and you're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I have this thought, this feeling that I get on certain not cloudy days, but sunny days with, like, not quite overcast, but I'll be driving, and I'll look at clouds a certain way, and I'll go, damn, clouds rule. Like no, but they're so under, and I get that same thing with the moon because I've had, and stars.
Yeah,
and shit
I
like
love
that.
looking at the sky.
Because I've had these experiences where it's completely altered the way I look at those things forever. And I get, not quite. I've had it with marijuana one time where I was walking my dog and I had no headphones and I had nothing, and I just looked up and it was a perfect, like, clear sky. and I felt like I was like back in this hallucinogenic state.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like I
Wow.
almost reached it. Like I almost felt like I had, so it's always there.
It is.
It's
it
always
is always there. And you know what's so crazy?
But I look at that fridge and nothing. It's just a normal fridge.
Yeah.
But I take, and then now that fridge is like so. Do you know what I mean by that? Like it's you just have to figure out ways to grab it. It's always there.
For
it's
sure.
always in front of you, and maybe that's what they're doing.
In a sense,
this.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. I don't think they're necessarily producing the psilocybin chemical.
Sure. No.
I have my own theories on what psilocybin is, the fungi is in general. I think fungi is something far greater than what we even think it is.
Well, it's the ultimate organism.
It is, and I think it's honestly...
How many different brands are... The Last of Us TV show just came out.
Yeah, that's a great... Yeah. But I think it's an alien. I think it's an alien organism. I don't even think it originated from Earth, to be honest with you.
It acts like one. There's a certain type that gets ingested by ants or certain insects, and then it attaches to parts of their brains, and it tells them to eat certain things, and then it literally like grows out of their exoskeleton and then on to new. And
it tells them to attack another ant, so the mushroom can grow and infect that ant. Yeah,
and
it's zombie
then
virus.
There's like we're in certain forests where they grow underneath the surface. There's like miles and miles and miles of the fungus, like all attached to all like a web of some sort. It's like just you can't see it because you just see the mushroom head grown out, but underneath that,
the mycelium
it's
web.
all just spread out throughout the entire miles of it.
It's crazy to think, but I mean, I do think that there's a lot of evidence that speculates that they actually came from another planet. Like they're the only things on the planet.
It crash landed.
Yeah, I mean, they can survive in the vacuum of space, theoretically. They can actually... mushroom spores can survive in space travel. And they can survive heavy levels of radiation and extreme temperature drops.
Well, that's what they...
shoot them over on an asteroid and infect another Earth-like planet.
That's what a theory about the burning bush thing, speaking about Christianity, is that a guy ingested this type of mushroom, this type of fungus, type of psilocybin, and then it talked to him in a way.
Yeah, they think it was an acacia bush, like a DMT burning bush.
Right. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. So they inhaled the smoke after it became on fire, and then that whole burning bush, was what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of evidence that psychedelics were used in every single religion on the planet.
Yeah.
Every early religion on the planet, psychedelic ceremonies of some sort were used. And it's a
pick
fact.
shit off the ground and eat it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fact. And well, early apes were sure doing it. But,
right. Well, that's what they think, like, doubled the size of the...
stone ape theory.
Yeah, right.
We did a podcast episode on that.
Yeah.
But, it's mushrooms actually are the founding fathers of life on Earth. So without mushrooms, the plants couldn't have grown, and the forests and trees couldn't have formed. And without mushrooms, and without plants, we wouldn't have been here.
Right.
So there's a direct line that mushrooms came here in the ancient world and fell on the planet when the Earth was still a primordial soup and lots of catastrophes just over and over, and nothing really could survive much. And pre-life on Earth, mushrooms were the first ones to hit the planet and to start developing an organism form, and then they developed, and this is all like, I'm pretty sure it's scientifically accepted now at this point. But,
using for the psilocybin in general that they use for people with PTSD,
yeah, I mean,
with
they're an
depression, anxiety, and other forms of like medicinal usages for them.
There are elders, and Terence McKenna used to have this theory that if biological life, because do you know that what's crazy too is mushrooms are more mammal than they're plant, but they're their own species. They're the fungi and the kingdom, right?
Right.
So they're their own species. They're neither, but they're more mammal than they are plant life. They have more things that would represent a mammal. So they breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide like we do too. So all these different things, right? But what's crazy is if you are this society of humans or society of a smart biological creatures because everything that's biological and living needs to get food, right? So if you got limbs, you need to walk around and get food. You got to figure out a way to like move if you're not stationary. If you don't get your food from the sunlight, you can just sit there by like a tree. Or if you're not mushrooms, right? So like the most ideal form of life, if you're like this monk society or this Buddhist society that wants to create ultimate life. So the idea of like Buddhism or something is to not let your existence not affect any other living creature's existence. So you don't impede or hurt any life, right? And so mushrooms actually, that fungi form on decaying matter. So only dead, decaying matter. So if there was like
the shit.
yeah. So or just like mold on your bread, like anything that's not going bad.
Oh, so
they're decomposers of the world. Yeah.
Nothing living.
Nothing living. Nothing living. At least except the ants now.
Right, true. They are.
Except
those ants probably have some form of consciousness, and they're impeding on that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fucked up, if you ask me.
Free the ants. But supposedly they're like this Buddhist organism. Like they don't impede on life. They just exist, and they actually help promote life, and they actually give life and give consciousness. So it's like
give consciousness.
Yeah.
That's a huge.
And you could talk to them, bro. Take enough, you could talk to them.
Yeah, that's why I asked you in the beginning if you had any sort of experience. When's the last time you've had any?
It's been like 4 years, man.
Okay, same here.
Too long.
Here's what I think about that is, I don't know if I can handle it because my relationship with marijuana now has changed a bit. I think, given life circumstances and things I've been through, it doesn't bring out the good side of me. It doesn't chill me. It doesn't relax me. It kind of makes me full of anxiety and I don't want to say paranoia, but like, I don't know, my relationship with it now is not good. And it used to be pretty good. I always got kind of a little, heady, but so I'm afraid that if I had any sort of, because I've kind of thought, well, it's been 5 years, 6 years since I've had anything. Maybe I'm due for, another trip with it, but I'm afraid that I'm like, I'll get too introspective and
I think
it'll fuck me up.
I think that sometimes though,
I'm already going into it with that.
Yeah.
Which is, I've had my fair share of experiences with them, but I just feel like I'm different now. If every cell in your body has changed every 7 years and you grow a new one, then I'm literally a different person.
That might be a good reason then to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it'll actually take away that fear or show you what you're trying to really kind of learn about, It could really be like a...
I think I still have some leftover side effects in a good way, positive side effects from them. And I think maybe I should reintroduce a little bit because the thing about clouds or the moon, that's all from that. Yeah. I never really had those thoughts prior to that.
The good thing is it's not going to do any fucking harm. You're never going to die from it.
It might not be a fun 4 hours or whatever.
Probably, it could not be. But it could also be you could age 4 years in those 4 hours.
I always felt I got the most out of it the next day.
Oh, yeah, or the come down is so important.
Yeah.
When you're coming down, you're laying and kind of groggy. Yeah. It's so important to retain what you've learned from your trip because your brain and your thoughts are going so fast that sometimes you get dazed by information overload. Mm-hmm. So it just so shockingly in awe that you don't retain the information. That's why there's people called psychonauts, which are psychedelic astronauts that travel into these psychedelic realms that take heavy amounts and travel back and then tell us about them and bring them back. And it's important work too because they're scientists. They're testing natural substances and they're going to these realms. They're coming back and giving these insanely detailed and similar explanations of the experiences. But it's important work and I think the come down is when you really learn, when you start to you have to hold on to those thoughts because it's kind of like a dream. It'll start to fade away.
Yeah, they fade away. Yeah,
and they don't stick. But
my brother's really gotten really big into edibles now and marijuana, and he never did any drugs in high school. He never smoked until college, I think. But now he'll crush 80 milligrams and chill. Really? I'm like, dude, I would be fucking losing my mind. A 10 is enough for me to get a little uneasy. So I've talked about it with him. I'm like, I think it would be something that would interest you, and I'm thinking about trying to set up something with him to where we can kind of bond over it and
for sure
elevate our relationship in some way. And
remind me, we'll talk about it after the podcast.
Okay,
it would only benefit, I think, especially.
But you know what I mean about being in the right. Sometimes they're you need to be in the right. You have to have the right mindset. And
you do,
location,
which is why I think I haven't
setting
took it.
is everything.
That's why I haven't took it. I felt like my mind hasn't been ready for it, and I haven't.
Would it wig you out? Do you think would it be too intense? Maybe at the moment, would it make you too hyper? I'm hyper aware of everything. Yeah. That's why the weed makes me more. It intensifies all of that hyper awareness.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be doing it anytime soon. It's hard to do it with the kid
God.
everything like that. And gotta be safe. But in the future, I would think that it would be something that I could definitely need help with. But I am hesitant on it. Mm-hmm. But I think that I've been hesitant on it in the past, and every time I've just jumped the gun and did it, I realized that it's not as bad as I was. Like it's like jumping off a diving board. Like it's not as bad as I thought it was, and it was so much worth it. What that's always been my conclusion every time, because I get
always worth it
when you're holding them in your hands and you're like, I'm about to eat them. The nervousness sometimes, if you're not used to taking them, you're just like jumping off a cliff, like cliff diving. So like for sure, like, and all the months leading up to that point, I feel very similar to that. So the only thing I learned is that
it's always
I wish I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Dude, I had a crazy out of body experience sober when I was sick on the sickness. Right?
Really?
I had the most insane out of body, and this was when I was getting over being sick, so it wasn't like I had a fever and I was like tripping out. It was like I was fine. I was taking a shower.
Like how many days into?
This was probably almost a week after I had it, like literally like the back end of it. And I was taking a shower, and I'm just sitting there or standing there, and I don't even know what was on my mind thought wise, but all of a sudden I started to fall out of my body, float out of my body. And I started to see myself in third perspective. I remember this so detailed because I was completely sober.
Standing in the
shower. I saw myself. I was probably like 3 or 4 feet behind my body, above my head, basically at my ceiling.
Like where the water's coming, like, okay, above it.
Out of the shower.
Okay.
I was looking at myself in the shower. And I was out of the shower looking down at myself. And I had these... It's the only way I could describe this, dude. I had this feeling that I knew what this was. I had a feeling that I was unplugged, or like not literally unplugged, but like I had this insane epiphany that I'm like, oh my God, I know what I am. I know my place and what I'm doing in this body, in this human body. Like
it's the most important answer
dude,
to
I
any
fucking
question.
Felt it, and I had such shocking feeling, right? And then I came back into my body, and I instantly forgot. I couldn't hold on to what I was just experiencing. It slipped out of my fucking hands, and I was like, what was that? All I can remember is just the feeling and how I'm describing it, but I can't describe to you I get it now.
Right,
like,
right.
I get this is what it all is.
The actual...
it was so mind-boggling, dude. So mind-boggling. To this day, I don't know what the fuck it was. I'm pretty sure it was a full-blown out-of-body experience. Full-blown, like what they talk about with near-death experiences. Like, not a doubt in my mind. I literally interviewed a near-death experience expert for one of my episodes.
That would be interesting to me, because I've had one of those.
Did you?
Yeah.
A near-death?
Yeah. Well, that's when I had my accident. They said I was PEA, or without a pulse, for 13 minutes.
Oh, whoa.
Which is like probably not accurate. I probably had a pulse. They just couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Because they had given me ketamine at the time, so you wouldn't give anyone without a pulse ketamine. So I was probably coming back and combative. Huh. But yeah, they said 13 minutes. So that's where the heart failure came into play, because I was without oxygen for that long.
Whoa, tell me all about this experience.
Just was not in a very healthy part of my life, and I was taking a bunch of things that are not good for you, and I took too much one time for like the third day that week, and that was enough to put me out while I was driving, and then I got into a car accident with that. Wow. And so when they came, the paramedics come, they had to, do CPR and resuscitate me and everything. And for the whole ride over there, I wasn't responsive to the hospital. So I don't really remember that. And then, I was in a coma for like 3 days at that point. Whoa. And so when I woke up from it, because I was without oxygen for so long, that my heart, the left ventricle, the left ventricle of your heart is the main portion of it that does the most blood pumping, more than the right.
Yeah.
And so they measure your heart pumping, your output, by what's called an ejection fracture. Okay. So it's just they do a test and they measure your ejection fracture, and it should be like 65%, because the left is more responsible than the right.
Okay.
Mine was at 20.
Whoa.
And So all I really remember is waking up and the cardiologist like explaining this to me. It had been a few days since I had been out of the coma. And I, similar to having a heart attack, basically. But for months after that, I couldn't walk upstairs. I couldn't like get out of bed without being completely out of breath.
Oh my God.
They put
Coming
me
from the
on,
guy who biked 100 miles.
right. Yeah. They put me on a transplant list. He told me I was going to have an internal defibrillator put in.
Whoa.
You're going to be on copious amounts of blood pressure medication, mostly for the rest of my life. He told me, and it was verbatim, he said, I don't see you getting above 30%. So here's what I recommend you do. And X, Y, and Z, medication, surgeries, just like that. And when I would take the medication, it would make me extremely tired. You know, my dick didn't work. It would completely fuck me up. So I didn't take them. I never took them. I took them for like maybe a week. And that was in October of 2020. And then in March of 21, April of 21, I made it back up to like 49%. And just through diet and exercise.
Wow.
And
seriously?
So yeah, he's like, well, you took the medication for some point. And I was like, no, I lied to you then. You know, I never took it. So
dude, tell him to go to nutrition school.
They never offered anything about diet or exercise.
No, they don't. They don't
said
teach doctors a morsel of what you should be eating.
No, they never mentioned it one time.
Just
so
what you should be here, eat my pill instead.
My mom was like, yeah, you know, obviously you don't remember a lot of this, but because she's a critical care nurse, because she is used to being in trauma centers, she had to tell them to take me off certain medications, put me on certain. They had me on paralytics. They had me on a bunch of anti-seizure medications, a bunch of stuff. And she asked me, she's like, did you have any bright light, like any viewpoint? And I was like, nothing.
Really?
Not a thing.
Nothing? Just
nope.
No memory of it, huh? Just
black and then waking up.
Maybe because you were sedated too, and it was like not a natural thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there could be other, but
like in the moment that you were having your experience,
yeah,
or your heart was stopped.
Yeah.
You were drugged up.
Right.
So maybe that was sedating.
Yeah, and that's what they told me 13 minutes, and anybody for 5 minutes. 3, 5, or 7 minutes.
Yeah, your brain is normally...
Yeah, you're normally brain dead. You normally come back a vegetable, or you're severely mentally retarded and so on.
Was the guy's stopwatch wrong or something? How the hell?
They think it was just so faint that it was there. It was just so faint they couldn't feel it, and they couldn't get it on the EKG.
Jesus.
That's what they think.
That's what led you down getting into shape, or getting back into shape.
Yeah, I've had like any sort of relapses or anything like that. I've had like, I don't know. So talking about like I've become much more empathetic too. I've become much more like emotional in a good way too, you know, but like, I don't know. It's like,
you're not escaping really anymore.
No.
That's so good, man. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, of course, just tell the difference.
Yeah.
You can tell that you're not.
Well, I think about all the kids that we know that weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
That didn't have the opportunity.
Not many people escape that life, dude.
They say 3%. Do
you ever think about like helping others with that? Like other people that are struggling?
I think about it all the time, but I don't know what to tell them because I don't.
I mean,
I don't know.
You can definitely exercise with them.
Well, of course that would help, but that whole like hitting rock bottom thing, like not only do very few people come back from that when they're just that deep into substances, especially all the really big ones, but to have the coma, to have the heart failure, to have that while being 25 years old, the world just fucking came down on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. I had this conversation. I had to have a conversation with my parents, and I'm like, look, if I feel this way, this is how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Not doing it. Like, I can't live X amount of years not being able to walk upstairs.
Yeah.
I can't not, you know what I mean? Like, I just, that's no life that I want to live. That would be torturous, So to battle with all the mental stuff that comes with being that deep into shit, and then the physical aspect of only 20% of your left ventricle is working, I don't know, it feels like a lifetime ago, but then I think about it every day. Like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that.
You escape death, dude.
Literally.
You
yeah.
escaped it.
Yeah. And I don't know why me. I had this. This is another thing why I want to get into the more spiritual and medicinal uses of psilocybin and LSD and things like that. That they do ketamine therapy too. Like, I want to know why. Like, why me?
Yeah.
Because how many people every day fall victim to that? And
It's
how many
almost-
moms lose their kid? How many uncles lose their nephew? That happens every day. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Something brought me back.
Yep.
I don't know what, but
I think that to not honor or respect or to give it some research, like to go on a soul search, what that was, would be a terrible dishonor to it.
Yeah.
The denial of something that could have saved you.
It's heavy,
Saved you.
After it happened, I wanted to tell all these people about it, and it would just vomit out of me the moment I had any sort of window where I could tell anybody about this, because it was so overwhelming, And then I was like, man, nobody knows what that's like. Mm-hmm. Not only do they not know what it's like to be that deep, but nobody knows what it's like to be that far gone, go over the edge, technically be pronounced dead, and come back and be functioning and being able to ride my bike. Every day when I would leave my neighborhood, I see this kid who lives in the next town over, in the next subdivision over, and he's in a wheelchair because he had a football accident when he was in high school. And he walks with this lab. This lab walks with him outside of it. And I would see that kid every day, and I was like, dude, I get to ride my bike. You know what I mean? I get to.
Yeah.
This kid's never gonna walk again.
Yeah.
And I get the chance to fucking be outside and move my own, and then do whatever I want to do. I can do whatever I want, because every day when I ride by Zach's house, I'm like, that dude, he doesn't get a chance.
No.
He doesn't get a chance.
That's such a sad thing, that the concept that they stopped aging.
Yeah, he'll forever be that
He'll
age.
never be like whatever he was. Yeah, it's so sad.
He gets no chance.
No chance. I think about that a lot.
And does he not deserve it? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, he might not. He was maybe the best kid around, but I don't think he deserved that. Why do I deserve this other opportunity? And it's been eating at me.
I think
for
you know what that is, Joey? You know what that eating is? The fact that you're probably not you're not making your second chance. You're not making something with your second chance. And I think I'm not saying you won't, because I truly think that's probably your purpose now, or something along the lines of that. Like, if you have that feel, that gravitation towards, well, something saved me, or I shouldn't be here anymore. Like, I've been given a second chance, and now, like, you're gonna get into some sort of work that's probably helping other people. I could see that, because I get fulfillment out of that. I love that type of work.
Yeah.
It's what, helping other people. It's almost
having a skill and teaching it to somebody else who now can use that forever. It's like, it's totally rewarding.
And also sharing your story is helpful too. Like, people who have experienced a near-death experience and hasn't learned shit from it, or are living a life they're not taken for granted, or people who who are still struggling and need to hear some of these. I just think, I think about this thought so often. The fact that me and you, everybody that you know, everybody you've ever met or will meet, everyone is a unique formulation and combination of 1,000 or more, 10,000 ancestors, all formulating that person, right? And all leading up to this person, or you and me. And no one in the world, you don't have an identical twin, and even if you did, they still experience and develop
life
differently, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have the same DNA doesn't mean you're the same person.
External things are now warping their...
So everything that's in you is unique to the universe. So and everybody who's ever done anything good in this world, or anything great in this world, was that one unique person who used his unique formulation of DNA that he got granted, and his experiences in the world, and did something great.
Yeah.
Did something great for someone else, even if it's just... And your measurement of great doesn't have to be like Elon Musk.
Globally.
It could be just a great father.
Yeah.
It could be just a great husband. It could be a great personal trainer, whatever the fuck it is. But doing something that makes you unique, and learning and appreciating your uniqueness, I think, is a really, really healthy realization, because I try to keep that in my forefront, because it motivates me to, do the podcasting. It makes me want to, hey, fuck it. I don't care if anyone likes it. I like what I'm doing. I like doing it, so, you know what? Screw it, right? It brings me joy. It brings me passion. But I think you'll find that. I think you definitely are asking the right questions and stuff. You definitely got some sort of drive.
It is a unique perspective. It's
is.
like it's like the scars make you unique. They tell a story,
100%.
right? And I have a few of those.
A lot.
And I think, okay, how can I make that not only advantageous to me, but maybe advantageous to somebody else?
For sure.
And if the whole conversation about not being fate or what's the other term we use?
Free will.
Free will. Like, if what I have is set in stone, then hopefully that would lead it to be something important.
Exactly.
Because it wouldn't be for no reason.
Exactly.
Because that wouldn't be useful to anybody.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be of any importance. And I don't know. It's a trip to go through as a 25-year-old. Like, I remember waiting in the waiting room, and there's 90-year-olds on oxygen tanks. People who smoked their entire life.
Yeah.
And I never made a full recovery. Like, I went up to 55%, and that was the most out of 65. It only goes up to 65.
Yeah.
So I'm in the normal range now, but I've had like, a lot of anxiety. I was having really bad panic attacks afterwards, and like, anytime I have any sort of like shortness of breath, I'm like, oh fuck, no, like, we're going, and I don't know, somehow that had like all of that didn't lead me to go back.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they would fold under
Yeah.
that. Like, that would be a lot of pressure
just
to be
relapse.
like, yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
How did you? Was it the fear of dying or fear of?
I think I just made it over a hump. I was just like, I hit rock bottom and then bounced. Like, I just had no other option. I couldn't even get out of my bed to go do it. I couldn't go do anything.
Yeah.
So I had no other option. And like, I think about what my parents had to go through. Like, my grandpa just passed away, right? And I was his caretaker for the past 3 years.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Okay. No, thank you. He's much better off now. But he was a very dementia, lost his mind physically, in very bad shape. And I remember he got COVID, and then he got put on a ventilator, and we went to go take him off the ventilator so he could pass, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at him, and they took him off, and he's like, trying to breathe and catch his breath, and he's on his way out momentarily. And I'm like, that's what I looked like. I was on a similar setup. I had similar tubes, other than feeding. I was oxygen, everything down the throat, in your trachea, everything. And I'm like, it's one thing to see an 83-year-old man, but to see a 25-year-old kid who's your son,
yeah,
what that would do.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll never feel. First of all, I can never repay that debt back, and I'll never know what that's like.
Yeah.
That would, think about that that would crush you if that were your dog. Like, that would. And I had this feeling. I'm like, I don't know. That's it. That's what I needed.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the path I was on wasn't going to be.
You realize you can't put her through that
anymore.
anymore.
Just being selfish.
Yeah.
Like the beginning.
Being selfish.
I said I'm selfish. I'm often selfish. I'm trying to satisfy my needs before anyone else. And then I don't know. I just had this thought of like my poor fucking parents.
Wow. Good for you.
And then when I saw him on that, I'm like, damn. That's what I looked like.
Yeah.
All fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Comatose. Just all like. And now you hopefully look at me now. And you find it unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Completely turn around.
And I had a friend recently who got into some like really pretty bad legal trouble. Mm-hmm. It was kind of public. His profile mugshot was being passed around. And I was talking to him and I was trying to give him advice. And I told him, I identify with you because I too feel like I have something attached to my name. Maybe it's not physically on a piece of paper, but it's a stigma or it's an idea or it's a, because based off my previous behavior, it's an opinion that's permanently attached to my name, whether that's true or not. For some people it may be. But I told him, I'm like, the only thing that has helped me is to not worry about that as much as I can, but also be the best version I can be, not to please anybody else, but that when I do inevitably run into them, make it impossible for them to believe the allegations or to believe what they heard about you.
There you go.
That's the only thing you can do.
There you go.
I heard so-and-so was doing this, and I look, man, I don't know, I just ran into him. He looks great. He's fucking crushing it. I see him do. That's the only thing. Not for their benefit.
Yeah.
But taking care of it for me, they'll automatically see
Yeah.
it. And I was like, that's the only thing you can do is that when you run into them, make it so undeniable, impossible for them to believe what they heard about you.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what, though? I think, well, you are doing a great job with that because you
Thank
don't look like you have any of the history you're talking about.
I feel like I aged like terribly, and I'm 27 and I look 50.
You're
like I
getting
look
jacked,
weathered.
dude. No.
Yeah, but I just feel like I look weathered and like beat up. Like I had a
not at all.
rough 10 years.
No, you're probably still peaking right now, dude.
I would hope so, man.
So-
I need room.
You know, like, I think that, wait, what were we just talking about?
Like making it undeniable for people.
Yes, okay, so, I think that's good to make it undeniable and make people definitely question, like, how can that even happen?
How could that be true?
I think also owning it and I respect, I'm telling you, you are more respected in my eyes as someone who went to hell and back than someone who just had it easy and is just ripped. Like, I have more respect for the person who's beaten their demons way fucking more than someone who hasn't had them at all. That hasn't, they're in the same, if you could be in the same position you're at right now, position in life, and
Right.
looks or whatever, the fact that you have the history and the scars and you've learned from them, it's what makes you you right now. And it's gonna be your fuel. It's almost like one day you're gonna really probably sit back, hopefully, and think the journey you went through, because it's gonna, you know, like, it's cliche, but they, you know,
If everything does
it
happen
forges
for a
diamonds.
reason.
Yeah, tough
Under pressure.
under pressure, exactly. And you know, I think if you would have let it consume you, you would have been right there with Belle.
Yeah.
You would have been right there with everybody else on the list.
How many other kids?
At least like 7. At
Probably
least.
a dozen, right?
Probably
I mean,
going on a dozen now. I mean, there's people that are probably still doing it.
Yeah. Oh,
You know?
Yeah.
And
none of-
you broke out of that, dude, and that's something that you shouldn't. If I was you, yeah, you already accomplished. It doesn't look like you're fucking using anything
Right.
crazy, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you don't even look like a typical user at all.
Yeah.
If anything, you can convince people maybe that you take a few
possible.
pills, but like
Yeah.
you don't look like any
Right.
street, like
Right.
anything crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you did use it. Anyway.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that a wild thing where it's like you hear certain names of certain substances and you're like, who the fuck would do that?
Right.
Why would you ever do that? Like,
Yeah.
You're doing what? Mm-hmm. That's goddamn. Like, you know, you smoke weed, you're in this category. You eat a Xanax or pill, you're in this category. But fuck, you're doing that
crazy.
shit.
Yeah.
You're. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You're in a different league.
Yeah.
It's like who?
I mean, when you're doing it, when you're using something and you're doing it and you're in the works and you're like living that lifestyle, yeah, it's not a respectable lifestyle. People are scared of that lifestyle. People don't understand it, and you know, it's not really widely accepted. It's
No.
a life ruiner, and it's not sustainable, right? So someone who
dead or in jail.
Yeah, so
You don't
someone
really
who's
get
had
in,
that but
yeah.
beat it, man, and can talk about it like, hey, this was my crutch. Like, dude, I don't know. I've been to a couple of like those group meetings and stuff for, like, I went with a couple friends to like different groups.
Like an A,
AA or NA,
type,
whatever. Yeah. One of my friends runs it, so
Okay.
yeah, I joined it.
I've never been to one. I would be interested in, like, you know.
Come with me.
Yeah.
Come with me, because
I
I've never
figured
met-
there was a religious kind of theme to
Some of them
them,
are.
and so that turned
Some
me
of them
off
are,
to
but-
them.
so
But
if you go to the right ones, they're not.
okay.
But the cool thing, dude, is you will meet the smartest motherfuckers in that room. The smartest people. There's people who come in that look like straight up a crackhead, like right
Yeah.
off the streets.
Yeah.
With teeth falling
Yeah.
out, cane,
Yeah.
but he's like 25 years
Yeah.
old, right? But this
Right.
dude is wise as fuck. Like, so wise. Like, and he's clean, and he can speak so well on it because he's experienced it. Like,
and he looks rough.
just like a psychonaut, you can't come
Yeah.
back unless you fucking experience it and go to those depths.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be you're not gonna be the expert on it.
Right.
And if you
Right.
can be like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the cool thing, is that's what makes me want to learn other shit for my kids. Like what we talked about earlier. Like, if I learn how to get really good at meditation, or if I learn how to really, like, you know, control my anger and my stress, right? I can get so good at it that I could pass that knowledge to them. Like, it just, you gotta live it to learn it,
Yeah.
you know. And you've lived it, and sounds like you've definitely learned it. You know, so I don't think that's something to ever be shameful of. Truly.
Yeah, I think a part of me there
Truly.
is an embarrassment. Like I feel like I walk around with it stapled to my forehead, you know, and
Not
being
to strangers.
Well, no, that's
Definitely
fortunately
not. Just
that's
shitty
the
high
only
school
thing.
friends who care to judge in the first place. But fuck those people.
Yeah.
And fuck those any girl judging you on it now.
Yeah, I you know I've been fortunate enough to where I've only had a few people like actually talk real shit like that to me. But for the most part, I just think like, oh, like not being on social media, at least a ton or anymore, has helped a lot because I feel like my relationship with social media during that period was not well, and it was a window into how I was doing.
Yeah, because you keep comparing yourself to everyone else.
Yeah, and it's also just I wasn't looking good. I wasn't acting. My behavior was bizarre, and all this stuff. And then that gave people an opportunity to see me in that state, as to where if I just never had that, and I went home and I did things by myself, and nobody ever knew, then so it's more shameful to me because, it's like. Yeah, I forgot. I used to come on here and do this, or I used to go on here and post that, or whatever. And it was very obvious because physically or mentally, it was obvious, right? Yeah. So now I feel like when I first was starting to get better, I'm like, I have to show people like I'm not that anymore. Like they have to know I'm in shape, or they have to know I'm mentally sound, or they have to know my relationships are doing better. And once I finally got that out of my system, I was like, okay, they don't need to know anymore. Yeah, like they know, and
fuck them.
And even if they don't, because they should know. Even if they don't, if I'm not on social media, my relationship should be not based off Instagram DMs. It should be: do you call me? Do you check in on me? Do I actually see you and hang out with you? That's what really matters, not a girl I used to fuck in high school.
Yeah,
and
for sure. Nor does their opinions.
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're like. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day...
But you know what I mean? I feel like because I've been dumb enough to put shit out there that, like, I'm like, fuck, now every time I go to put shit, it's like, oh, yeah, it looks good now, but I remember...
Yeah, I don't think... I think that is... Do you know that that's you...
I would hope so.
What other people think? Like, you're assuming that that's how people think.
I'm
telling you, the more of you... do you ever ask the same question to people?
No.
Because here's one answer that you're going to get. No one thinks about that shit. If I come across someone from the past, the only time I think about that's a kid who shit their pants in high school or shit in the hallway or got thrown out of school or got body slammed with the fucking I don't think about I guess you do know who was using heavier drugs, right? But if I can't think of an example, but besides you. But if a
lot of those motherfuckers are dead.
That's what I'm saying. So if I see someone today that looked like they had their shit together and looked like fucking Jack, you can't be looking like you and doing drugs.
Right. And I know that they don't. I maybe not think that anymore. But in my opinion, if our roles were reversed and I saw you, I'd be like, fuck yeah, Matt, dude, fuck yeah. Yeah. That would fire me up. That would motivate me. And regardless if it's. If you don't know all the details, but you know enough to know, I don't know. But yeah, people probably don't think that way.
I don't think so. My own, nor do they care. The fact that you're doing good now, I think
they probably don't give a shit now anyway. They probably don't care anyway.
And the ones that do actually do, and the ones that don't give a shit don't give a shit when you're in your past.
Yeah, I know which ones care and which ones don't. I know.
The only ones who are going to really judge you for that life are probably a girl who knows your past, who's seen what you're referencing, and then
just very little because I wasn't around a ton of them anyway.
Exactly.
So.
And then she's a bitch anyway for judging you on that.
Yeah, not somebody I would want. Shit.
No.
Anyway.
Fuck that. Yeah. Can you imagine dating someone that would judge you for that and then she'd bring it up in fights?
The girl. That would be, remember you'd automatically win. You'd automatically win. I would have no comeback to that. Fuck, you're right.
God damn it.
I've shared, not in every detail, but with the girl I'm seeing with now, I've told her, I used to dabble in this. It wasn't really, I didn't go into every detail. Didn't know exactly how bad, but she knows about the heart condition and all that. And she's like, I don't know, I admire it.
Right?
I think it's a unique story. I think it's
I do too.
It's it's influential, and it's
I agree.
like what do you know, like it's admirable.
It is.
You know?
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
And
I 100% agree with that.
and it is a unique perspective to have, because not only coming back from doing certain things, but just being in that comatose and fucking having. I don't know anybody who's been through that. At least not both at the same time.
Not many people.
I don't know if a person has been through both of that. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some people out there, but normally you might have one or the other.
Yeah.
And then one or the other might be enough to take you out, but to have both at the same time.
Yeah.
Is like, I can't even explain it to you.
Yeah.
And like nobody will ever know what that feels like, you know? Because I'll tell people, I'm like, wow, that's crazy, man. Like that's the most.
You really can't comprehend.
That's the most I get out of
like
people.
Your life almost being taken.
Taken. Yeah, it was taken. I just got it back somehow. I don't know.
Given back.
So I do have like this feeling of like, you got to do more, because if you don't, you're wasting this opportunity, and fucking shame on you, because that kid who can't walk anymore. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to fucking walk. Not only do you have the ability to walk, you have the ability to ride your bike and exercise and do all these shit that you want to do. This and go out with girls. This guy ain't going out with any girls.
No.
He ain't fucking. His dick doesn't work. He's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then shame on you.
Yeah.
So every time I see reminders of that, I'm like, you owe it.
For sure. Dude.
To yourself and to the universe. You know.
For sure.
You owe it.
Otherwise, it's gonna get you back, dude. It's gonna come back for that.
You know, and to be honest, man, I've had like I've had maybe one or two moments in time where I'm like, the temptation has came back, but that's it.
That's good, man.
I don't know.
That's
so
great.
Yeah,
it sounds like you had a lot of what they talk about, like a mystical experience. They say there are things that could change you.
Yeah.
Instantly, that make you like, oh, I get it now. Like,
I'm like,
I can't go back. I'm not gonna go back. I get it.
I'm weirdly like empathetic with people, and like everybody, with friends, with family members, with the girl in line at Target who's like overweight and looks like shit, and I'm like, I feel with this, but she's going through something.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel bad for her, and it makes me want to be nicer to her, and it makes me want to help, and it's like I don't know, it can be a useful tool.
It's so fascinating, man.
You know, it is interesting. It's unique.
They should make a device that gives you a near-death experience, like just kills you for safety.
I think that was a Black Mirror episode, right? One of the doctors was like able to
feel the pain,
feel their pain. Yeah. And I don't, you know, if you could, I think then your response wouldn't be, that's crazy. You'd go, what do I even do with myself? You know?
Yeah, that's an insane experience, man.
So that's all.
So glad to hear that. So glad to hear everything's going that way too, man. Like, that's just music to my ears. Yeah, I'm sure the listeners.
Well, especially for you, you know, who you've had how many people in your life that are
too many, probably
not here to have this conversation,
including my dad,
including your own dad. Yeah. You know.
So it's definitely been a hallmark throughout my whole life of
your entire life.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, that was the foundation of your morals and your beliefs
100%.
In middle school and high school.
Yeah, I was kind of like the straight edge.
Yeah.
Didn't fuck with any of that. Yeah. To this day,
because why would you?
Kept me
you know, I mean, what?
Yeah.
Why anybody in the right mind would you?
But a lot of the times, you know, kids do fall down that path because they've seen it happen. And I lost my dad. I'm going to do it.
Right. But it can either go either way. If you're a parent with an alcoholic, you either refrain from alcohol and you hate it, or you turn into that.
Yeah. I think it's all about who I had around us. Me and Mike had a lot of family and friends that always kept us staying positive, and like we had a couple people who, like my dad's friends, which was they had kids our age too. Devin's dad.
Okay. Yeah, Devin's dad and your dad were friends.
Yeah, they're like best friends.
Oh,
so, like, he helped a lot, kind of.
Damn. You still see Devin at all ever?
Not much. Damn. You know. But he helped a lot.
What do you think about relationships like that, where you were really close with somebody and now you never see them? Is that just a natural part of life?
I think,
or
I think.
Is that a shame?
It's a shame, but I think real relationships
never die.
Just like me and you.
Yeah.
You know, they never die. They're.
I haven't seen you in a year and a half, and yet it doesn't. You start right where you left off.
Yeah, we don't skip a beat.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to catch up, but I think that's life now. You know, things. I could definitely be a better friend. That's one of the things I want to work on. Like, I'm a terrible texter and responder.
You got plenty going on,
you know. It's just, but I've, even before all that, I'm just too in my head.
Are you on your phone a lot? Are you watching
listening.
YouTube?
I'm not watching much.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll watch stuff, but even if I do have the time and I'm on my phone and I have time,
just won't do it.
I just don't like to.
Does it give you any anxiety about it? Like you're like don't want to know? Do you just don't care?
It does because like I get anxiety like if I have to keep a conversation going with someone through text. I don't like texting. I don't like responding. I don't know. It's so strange to me, but I just when I get
you like conversation in person.
Yeah, I can call you on the phone, but a lot of the times like I'm just busy. But I can call and talk and be quick about it. But I don't know, dude. It's fucking weird. I gotta get better at it because.
Well, how do you get better at it?
I don't know.
You just do it.
I don't want to get better at it.
You don't want to.
I don't want to sit there and text everybody all the time.
That's all it comes down to is do you want to do something?
No.
No? Then you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
If you truly want to do something bad enough, you will find a way to do it.
That is true.
So when it comes to like giving people other advice, it's like you don't want it bad enough.
Yeah, you could say it.
You don't need it bad enough. I needed to do it.
Yeah.
You're in like
That's
I didn't
true.
want it. I needed
don't need
it.
to respond all the
You don't need to do it, so you don't give a fuck. What do you care?
I'll respond to you when I need to.
Yeah, and yeah, you got plenty of other stuff going on, so that's the least of your concerns at the moment. So, but true. I like to reach out anyway, just to let you know.
No, I'm glad
even
you
if
do.
you see it and you don't respond, if I know that you at least saw it, then I'm like, all right, Matt knows.
I'm so glad,
Mike knows,
dude. I'm so glad because, dude, if it wasn't for people being persistent, I wouldn't probably have anybody left. Because I thank you for that because the persistence is the only way to break through to me. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like my mom's gotta call me like a couple times, or she's literally gotta
I wonder if girls are that way.
She's better off coming over here and knocking on my door.
If a girl's ignoring me, should I just keep persisting until she finally responds to me, or just leave it the fuck alone?
Because if you want it, then she'd probably respond, right? Well, Joey. I appreciate this podcast. Yeah, it was great, dude.
I had fun. What time did I get here?
Yeah, we've been talking a while.
3:45. I called you. It's almost
almost a 3-hour podcast. I'm gonna have to chop it up a little bit.
You might have to do a little editing. Listen, I'll have to get my computer running and boot it up and see if I can help you out there.
For sure. Yeah. You're welcome on anytime. Let's start recording more.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, Joey.
All right.
Good seeing you, man. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, hit that thumbs up or like button, or even share this podcast with some friends. And make sure you subscribe to my channel on all listening platforms to stay up to date with all the new content coming out. That's The Matt Rich Podcast on all listening platforms. If you'd like to support the channel, visit my Patreon at patreon.com/The Matt Rich Podcast. I love you all, and I will see you next time.